Welcome! Today I'm going to be talking about when I moved to Paris by myself. If you're new to this channel, make sure you slap that like button and hit that bell so you know when I upload another video to this channel. I haven't mentioned it before on this channel, but I studied fashion design at university, and when I was in my second year, I had the opportunity to do a placement year or a year in industry as an intern for a whole year. So at the time I knew that I was very interested in luxury fashion. That's always what I dreamt of having an experience in as a fashion designer. So I thought, you know what, let me take a chance. I'm going to apply to Christian Dior in Paris, and I'm going to apply to Oscar de la Renta, two brands which I personally think are the pinnacle of classic luxury women's wear. And I was lucky enough to be offered an internship by Christian Dior Couture in Paris. So I was just like, oh my God. And I just I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could believe it because I worked hard, okay? I worked hard to get that opportunity. I remember even my interview for Dior was one day before I was meant to fly to New York, because I had already been offered a 6-month internship at Oscar de la Renta, but then Dior hadn't got back to me, and they got back to me one day before I was meant to fly. So I remember the day before my flight, Dior messaged me and they said, hey, can you come to Paris tomorrow and do an interview? So I had to scramble right at the last minute to get my Eurostar ticket, which is basically a direct train from London into Paris. So I went, I got the internship. I was just really lucky, and it was really by the skin of my teeth because I would have been in America a day later. If you want to learn more about my internship in more detail with Christian Dior, click the link above my head. I'll go more into detail about my fashion internship experience at Christian Dior and how I got the internship. So firstly, I'd like to talk about the trip going there and also about how I found somewhere to live in Paris. I wish somebody had told me the information that I'm about to tell you guys in this video, so keep watching. So I came back for 1 week after my other internship in New York. I repacked and I jumped on the Underground tube and then the Eurostar to get a direct train from London directly into Paris. It was really quick. Paris is only about an hour to 2 hours away from London, and I arrived in the evening in Paris. By the time I arrived, it was nighttime, so I jumped in a taxi. And that's another thing, guys, they will try to rip you off. So be careful about the taxi drivers around Gare du Nord, because they are there to rip you off. They will double or triple your fare, so beware. After that, I stayed with my friend and her family in the centre of Paris for the first few weeks while looking for somewhere to live. I was really lucky because I was right in the centre of Paris in the 8th arrondissement, and the architecture in that area was absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, and a walking distance away from Christian Dior. The next day I explored the area. There was such a lovely flower shop nearby, so I just went exploring, found all the local grocery stores. It was such a beautiful part of Paris because I was right in the centre, so it was extremely beautiful. Stunning, stunning, darling. The internship. So the following week I started my internship at Christian Dior. I was still a student at the time, but I was really excited, and it was just so magical working at my dream, one of my favorite fashion brands. It's the same atelier and building that Christian Dior himself actually worked in when he was alive. So it was really incredible to be at the same company, learning from the best seamstresses and designers really in the world. Dior is really well known for couture, for hand sewing, for using traditional techniques, and Dior had a very creative atmosphere and energy about it. You could really tell that the people who worked there really loved what they do. So yeah, I remember my first few weeks in Paris were magical, absolutely magical. So while I was in Paris, I went exploring a lot. I went and visited the Eiffel Tower, of course. I did all the cliche things. I just felt like I was in a movie or something. Paris has a very classic, traditional foodie culture. If you love meats, if you love traditional roast, they're really good at that. I mean, I had really good roast duck, I had loads of roast beef, really good hearty food. It was very good food culture. They don't have snacking culture or fast food culture like they do in New York. So when you eat and you stop eating in between. So yeah, I just ate really well. I had amazing bread. Oh my God. Oh, that's the thing I miss about Paris. The bread, the pastries. I used to have baguettes all the time, and I know that sounds so cliche, but the freshly made bread in Paris was just it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, the food was really good. I remember I tried this ravioli dish. I don't know what you call this. If you know what this is called, please comment in the comments below. But it had like a mushroom and chicken filling. It might have been mushroom and duck or chicken inside, and it was really delicious. I had a lot of good foie gras, really good wine. I probably butchered the pronunciation, even though I'm meant to be able to speak French. There's so many good restaurants to choose from. The food in Paris was really good, but again, quite pricey. If you're a student, please just save it. The food, I mean, it's good food, but it's not cheap. To be honest, it's very expensive in Paris. It's much more expensive than New York or London, in my opinion. I'm from London, and it's just astronomical, guys. But Paris managed to top London. So between the apartments and the food, it was just breaking the bank. So how do you go about finding an apartment in Paris? Well, firstly, there's Louer Agile. Secondly, there's a website called beboncoin.fr. And again, both of these websites list apartment listings in Paris. I wish I had known about it sooner when I arrived, but I was actually using a lot of Airbnb. I had a friend who would stay in one Airbnb in Paris for maybe a month and then just keep moving from flat to flat. Because, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people weren't there for a whole year. 6 months to 9 months was the average for a lot of the interns. So I suppose moving every 1 to 2 months wasn't too bad. I would say it would allow you to see more of Paris, get a better feel for different types of neighborhoods. I ended up finding a Champ de Bonne, which is a maid's converted studio flat in the 16th arrondissement of Paris, which is on the west side of Paris. And it's basically a more older neighborhood. It's a neighborhood full of families, an older demographic. If you want to live somewhere that's a bit more trendy, a little bit more hipster, then I would actually recommend that you maybe go more to the east side. Areas like La Marais, Pigalle, those areas are more artsy, a little bit more trendy. There's more art museums nearby as well. I ended up finding something that was affordable on the 16th, in the 16th arrondissement, because I was a broke student, so that's what I could afford at the time, so I made it work. So I moved into the Champ de Bonne in 16th arrondissement. This is what it looked like. It was really small. Everything was in one room. It was like I had a wardrobe, a stove, and a shower all in the same room. To be honest, I don't know how I scraped by, because I really did not have money like that back in. I still don't have money like that even now, to be fair. But as a student, I really struggled. I just made it work. So I moved in, and even my toilet wasn't inside my flat. It was like a shared toilet with another neighbor on that floor. So that was not glamorous. It wasn't very stunning, guys. Yeah, it was just a struggle, okay? So I stayed there and that was where I lived. I paid around, I'm gonna put how much I paid here. This is how much the flat cost per month, and to be honest, I still struggled even with that. I recommend that you save thousands of pounds really to live comfortably as an intern in Paris. Ideally, you should get some flatmates, but the problem I had was I was in this fashion school with loads of rich students, unfortunately. A lot of people were from quite wealthy backgrounds, so they kept wanting to move to really expensive apartments. So even if we split it, it was still really expensive for me.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
It was just too expensive. I even remember visiting one of my friend's apartments, and it was right in one of the most expensive, most desirable parts of Paris. A lot of people had family support. I definitely didn't. I don't come from that kind of family that could really support me in that way. They don't have money like that, so I just made it work. Luckily, if you do move to Paris as an intern, there's a program called Erasmus, which is basically when the government pays you a certain amount of money to help you with your basic costs and expenses. It's not a huge amount of money, but it will help you just to have something, you know, on top of your savings when you move there. So I did receive that, and also I did receive a payment also from Dior as well. So that really helped me to get by while living in Paris. But it wasn't a huge amount, it was probably even less than minimum wage. So you do need to save up before you move. So please save up, do what you need to do. Even before I went to my internship in New York, I had a summer job in retail, in Topshop, just to save up whatever I can really before I move there. So just save your coins. The thing I really liked about Paris in comparison to even living in New York is that it's much slower. It's even slower than London. There's more of a holiday culture in Paris. You're encouraged to travel more. You're kind of forced to go on holiday. You get 25 days of annual holiday by default. It's not going to be anything way less than that, but in New York I felt like there were people who were just working and not having any holiday, or they weren't entitled to any automatically, so I thought that was a little bit much, or it was a bit of a culture shock for me. It was like going from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end. New York was very much about hustle culture, money, capitalism, make that money as quickly as possible, don't go to sleep, work till 10 p.m, fashion week. That was quite different, but then Paris was, we never would go beyond 6 p.m. I mean, it just wouldn't really happen. It's just a completely different culture. So that was really interesting to see and to experience as an employee and not just as a tourist. I really recommend to anybody, if you have the opportunity to work in a different country and really experience the country as a local, just go for it. It's such an amazing experience, and it really makes you question your norms in your own country and what you think is the best way to go about doing things or the best lifestyle, because when you go to other countries, everything that you think is normal and you take for granted could be the complete opposite somewhere else. So it's really interesting, and it really helped me to decide and think about what kind of lifestyle I want to have in my adulthood. So Paris, just like anywhere else, has such a wide mixture of people. It's quite multicultural as well. Maybe not as multicultural as, say, the UK or New York especially, but it does have a very wide range of ethnic groups and restaurants from many different countries that you can go to and eat at. So that was really cool. Some people were really lovely. I met some really amazing people in Paris who would be my friends forever, really. But there were also some really horrible people as well in Paris. I would say culturally, it's slightly different in Paris because in England, for example, people are a bit more reserved. If people are prejudiced, they tend to keep that more to themselves. But in Paris, I actually found I had quite a lot of blatant, direct racism. That wasn't great, I'm not gonna lie to you. So actually, I would say, after living in New York and living in Paris, I don't think I could see myself living in Paris permanently. I know that sounds really bizarre because New York and America has loads of racial problems as well. I just felt like in New York, at least, even though there is racism there still, I didn't feel as excluded. I think also as a person living in Paris for the first time, I definitely found it much harder to make additional friends in Paris. It was much more, I felt much more isolated in Paris, actually. It takes longer to make close friends in Paris than it does in New York. Within 3 months in New York, I had a whole table of friends. Like, it was so easy to make friends. To be honest, I love New York more than Paris. I really enjoy the fact that in New York, strangers come up to you and just start talking to you. Sometimes it can be a bit weird. But other times it makes it really easy to meet your neighbors and like make new friends and really get to know your area. So I really enjoyed that and I liked it much more than Paris. But everyone is going to have a completely different experience. My experience of Paris was that, you know, it had amazing art galleries, amazing food, healthy lifestyle, you walk more. But I felt like I was missing the sense of community that I really I need it. I just could not see myself permanently living in Paris. I can't. It's just more of a character fit, I think, or a cultural fit. Yeah, that was my experience of Paris. I really enjoyed it. I'm really happy I did it. Maybe I would do it again temporarily though, not, you know, not as a permanent place to live. I would do it again, but New York won my heart, okay? So if you want to learn more about when I moved to New York by myself, click the link above my head. I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to link all the websites where you can find an apartment to live in the description box below. If you have any questions about moving to Paris as well, comment in the comments below and I'll see if I can help you guys out. Don't forget to slap that like button, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any more notifications on my channel. And you might as well treat yourself to another video. I mean, you're already here, darling. You might as well treat yourself. You might as well join the bougie gang and learn how to be fashionable on a budget. I have it all. It's all here for you to watch at your viewing pleasure. So stay bougie, stay ambitious. I will see you in the next video. Bye.